All right, the first presentation in English. So I'm sorry. Hopefully this is somewhat easy for everyone to understand. I've really enjoyed listening to everything so far. I kind of live in this think I know what I'm hearing, and then I read it and I understand a little bit more. But it's been a pleasure to be here. First of all, before I get into my presentation, I just want to really recognize and thank Alan from Zetacube for setting all of this up and having me here. I think, to be honest, the DePIN Alliance, right, in Korea is going to be a really powerful force, I think, for uniting all of the different projects and sharing with the world how great I think the DePIN ecosystem is. So he's really a pioneer in this. And I also want to just highlight how many people in this space are all about the talk, right? A lot of talk. But Alan has built physical infrastructure, right? The nano DC data center, it's out there. You can touch it, you can feel it. This is someone who builds real stuff. And that is always an admirable trait. So I truly respect him as a great builder in the space. And I just want to say thank you again for having me here. Thank you, Alan. Also, we were all lucky enough to listen to the chairman of the Sogang University speak to us earlier today. And I want to kind of reflect on some of the things that he said as well. First of all, it's very clear to me that this university is being led by someone who has a very good understanding of the future, or at least a very, very clear vision. And that, I think, is so important. You have so many talented builders and engineers and students within this organization that are now being given access to a vision that, to be honest, I think is maybe not representative of the vision that maybe every chairman of a university would have, right? The way that DePIN and Web3 have been incorporated into his vision is something that's very inspiring for those of us that are building in the space. It's great to hear that message shared within the walls of an academic institution like this. So again, thank you to him for the many kind words that he said about Aether, but also for being a champion of decentralization and Web3 and DePIN as a whole within the realm of academia. I think just an additional few points. He mentioned how easy it is now to be building, right? The reduction in the barrier to entry to get out there and start a project. For me, I feel a lot of pressure, right? As an entrepreneur, I love building things and seeing how easy it is to take ideas to fruition, ideas to product now, even compared to just 3 months ago. It's crazy. Every time I have an idea, I think to myself, wow, if I had just 6 hours, I could get that product out there. And I hope the audience here, I hope that all of you understand that it's possible now in a way that it's never been possible before. And I hope you do feel a little bit of that pressure, right? Because we are entering this age of innovation that is unlike anything we've seen before. And the opportunity to get out and turn your ideas into reality is honestly incredibly energizing and something that I think everyone should at least attempt a little bit using some of these tools that have come onto the market in the last couple of months. There was a good section in the chairman's slides about robotics, and I think I just want to make a kind of a direct connection between that stage in the near future and some of the technology that's being built by people here in this room. When you think about robots, of course, they will have no wires connected to them, right? They're effectively machines that run on a battery, right? if you think about the battery required to run the actual robot itself, right? And then you think about the battery required maybe to run the compute infrastructure, right? Those are both significantly power consumptive, right? They do require a lot of battery power. And when you think about how we're going to manage those sorts of pieces of the infrastructure in the future, it's very, very likely that instead of requiring each of those robots to conduct all of the AI-based computing on the physical device itself, maybe that will be done more in the cloud, right? Something like Aether would be the infrastructure that would power that type of remote computing. But when you think about the distance between where that computing happens and maybe these robots, the idea of having nano DC style infrastructure adjacent to where these robots would be operating is going to be critical for reducing the lag between what happens in the cloud or what happens in a DePIN network and the efficiency of these robots out in the workforce or wherever they're conducting their tasks. So I do think that, again, infrastructure like what Alan's building really does fit exactly into my idea of where the future state of AI is kind of going, particularly when you start to look at the robotics side of things. And then finally, the chairman did mention there's somewhat of a weight of expectation on projects like Aether to take the step forward. And I do hope that we are kind of making positive moves. We do, hope to be a little bit of a leader in the space. But it's also difficult, I guess, to take a look at what success might look like for you as a company when your biggest competitors are, trillion-dollar giants. It's an interesting space to be. But I do hope that over the coming months and years that we'll certainly be in their rearview mirror, right? They'll start to see us coming, and that's an exciting place to be. But I'll jump into the slides and hopefully not take too much of your time. But my name's Mark, I'm co-founder of Aether, the CSO, Chief Strategy Officer, and I hope to share a little bit more with what we do at Aether here with you. Who here knows what Aether does? A couple of people? Okay, good. Well, I think the best way to understand what Aether does is to understand the problem that we solve first. And this is something that Alan has addressed in his slides. It's something that you've seen addressed in the slides of the chairman. Effectively, there is not enough enterprise-grade compute out there to satisfy the demands of these big tech companies, but also the demand of the builders in the space that exist outside those big tech companies. You've seen people like Elon Musk come out. I actually saw an article from him just a few days ago stating that he is launching, he's looking to raise $25 billion to establish a new data center that will house over 1 million GPUs in a single data center, right? Every time something like that happens, it reminds me that NVIDIA didn't just create 1 million more GPUs for Elon Musk. He's taking a bigger piece of the supply that everyone else needs, right? That means that there's now less availability of that resource for people outside of X, right? Similarly, you've got people like Zuckerberg purchasing $11 billion worth of H100s in the middle of last year. Elon Musk has come out and even said things like GPUs are harder to buy than drugs, right? It's a funny world, but certainly it's not getting any easier to access this type of infrastructure. So at Aether, we took a bit of a deeper look at the problem, and we broke it down into 4 pieces. The first is, of course, buy pressure. The biggest tech companies in the world have effectively an insatiable appetite for this compute, right? We know that if you have more GPUs and more data, you're more likely to win the AI race, right? It's a very simple equation at the moment, and one that is driving a huge amount of demand for these resources. Secondly, of course, like I mentioned, NVIDIA can only produce so many of these chips per year. They're a physical item, manufacturing limitations, resource limitations. There's only so many of these chips coming online every year, and the vast majority of those end up going to the biggest tech companies in the world. Thirdly, this is also something that was touched on in previous slides. As the LLMs increase in complexity, as newer models are released, what we're finding is that those models are effectively exponentially more expensive to train than the model before, right? ChatGPT 4 is exponentially more expensive to train than ChatGPT 3, right? However, within that period, maybe a 6-month period from ChatGPT 3 to 4, we're not seeing an exponential increase in the availability of compute. We're not seeing an exponential increase in the performance of the chips that are coming online. So it seems like there's this growing gap between the compute requirements that we're going to need in the future for frontier models, right, and the ongoing addition of supply over time that seems to be much more linear. And then finally, and this is really where Aether steps in, we're not actually all that good at managing the resources that we already have, right? A lot of the enterprise-grade GPU resources out there sit in data centers and they're underutilized, right? They're sitting idle, and this is arguably the most expensive compute that's ever existed, and we're not managing it effectively. So Aether took a look at this problem and said, if we could access that idle compute that is sitting out there in the world, reconnect it up into our cloud, and then distribute it back to builders and companies that need it, that would really be a net new supply that we're able to provide back to the AI ecosystem. So that's what we've built. We're a decentralized, enterprise-grade GPU infrastructure. We aggregate GPUs from enterprises, from tech companies, from data centers, from crypto mining organizations. Effectively, if there is latent compute out there that meets the requirements of enterprise-grade demand, then we can take that compute and onboard it into our network. This is a little bit of a diagram of what our platform looks like. Very, very simple for anyone that has had to buy GPUs before. The process will be the exact same. My advice to many of the founders and companies that I advise is don't try to get your customers to reinvent the wheel, right? Don't try to create new processes they need to learn about. Follow the onboarding cycles that are most familiar to them, and the same goes here. What GPU do you want? Where do you want it? How many? How long? The only difference is you're paying in ATH token instead of using your credit card, for example. If you're a GPU provider, if your GPU meets the requirements of our network, it's very, very simple to onboard your GPU into our ecosystem. You effectively register your GPU. You then stake some ATH tokens. This is similar to when you go to a hotel and you have to pay a small deposit to the room and they give it back to you once you leave. Same concept, right? Because we don't own your hardware, we need a small guarantee that you'll behave when you join our network. So you stake some small tokens, and then that means you get to participate and earn the great rewards available within our network. There's a little box here for agents. We actually have mainnet upgrade 2 happening within the next probably month and a half. What this will do will actually make our network's compute available to agents. If you think about agent sovereignty and agent autonomy, one of the things that agents will need to be able to do if they want to gain independence is purchase their own compute, right? This is something that we'll be unlocking within our network. So agents will be able to autonomously pay for and access compute within our network, which is pretty cool. These are the primary compute products. I haven't spoken too much about it today because I think this is a little bit more of an AI-flavored conference, but we do actually have a large amount of gaming compute infrastructure. This is more for cloud gaming, so the processing of the requirements of a game in the cloud. So even if you have a really cheap computer, for example, you can play even the newest game at the highest resolution, because instead of your computer doing the work, the cloud does the work. This is a really cool piece of tech that actually scales very effectively on distributed networks, and that's a significant portion of the revenue that we generate today. But from an AI perspective, up the top you have AI training. This is the process of taking AI from ChatGPT 3 to ChatGPT 4, from ChatGPT 4 to eventually ChatGPT 5, and a whole bunch of weird numbers in between because their naming system is really strange. Here we have AI inference. This is the word for AI doing the job that it was trained to do, right? So when you talk to ChatGPT, for example, and it gives you an answer to your question, that's inferencing. Something that we're seeing a lot in the market at the moment is actually a shift in compute requirements towards inference, right? If you think about the type of company that is training AI, very small number of very big companies, right? That's meant that there's been a huge amount of revenue driven towards training, but it's coming from a smaller number of customers. But now, with the quality of the output that's coming from these companies being so high, we're starting to see smaller teams, startups, other companies build products on top of those models in ways that are driving much more customers, or should I say clients, looking for compute to support their products on the AI application side of things. So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about my view on agents today. I put these slides together literally a week ago, and already some of them are out of date. So it just goes to show how quickly things are moving in the space. But many of these icons or logos up here will be familiar to those of you that have been following the agent narrative in crypto, right? But to be honest, almost all of them have dropped in valuation 50, 80% over the past 2.5 months. And I think a lot of people in the sector have been asking why that is. Why did the floor fall out for what is meant to be such an exciting sector? And I think the answer is the market realized that these weren't really agents at all, right? So what is an agent? I think, again, this was touched on a little bit in the IoTech slide. You can think of, for example, an LLM, right, as the brain, right? It's very good at giving you answers to questions. If you take a question and you ask it of ChatGPT 3, for example, it'll give you an answer. If you ask that same question of ChatGPT 4, you'll get a better answer, right? But it's still just an answer to a question. LLMs are the brain. Agents are the hands and feet, right? They are the execution layer. They are the piece of the AI infrastructure that goes out there and actually interacts with the real world. And these, the vast majority of these anyway, were simply LLMs, right? The ability to communicate with you, maybe wrapped in a form that allowed them to respond to you on Twitter. So I think people got pretty sick of that pretty quickly and had some maybe higher expectations for the agent space. So what are the main challenges, I think, facing agents in crypto anyway right now? I think, first of all, we're very much reliant on Web 2. I think we're very good at the moment in crypto at building payment rails, building wallet-based infrastructure, looking at opportunities to kind of privatize and decentralize certain aspects of the stack, but we're not very good at actually building the base level product, right? So I think only very recently, again, the past couple of months, have we come to a point where this AI agent space is actually out there producing real world results. Manus, for example, just launched maybe 2 months ago, getting a lot of traction, very, very interesting product. People are finally starting to see what agents can do, and that's going to start permeating into the crypto space, but we are still very reliant on this tech coming from Web 2 first. I think, unfortunately, Web 3 also has a little bit of a bad actor problem. If you take a look at the slides, the slide that I had up before and all of those logos that were there, I would say over half of those companies are probably not around anymore, right? It's really important to do your research and look past the hype of projects that are building in the space. It's one of the reasons why I really respect what Alan is doing. People that are out there physically building and actually delivering on their vision are rare, and I think that was a big issue with the early movers in the agent space. And then finally, we have a little bit of an echo chamber in Web3. We're very good at convincing other Web3 people to listen to what we're saying. We're not all that good at convincing people in Web 2 to listen to what we're saying. And that's why I was so happy to see the talk that the chairman of Sogang University gave us, right? Because that is a great example of someone in Web 2 circles championing what we know is so great about this sector. So more people like him will really, honestly, be the key to taking crypto and decentralized AI mainstream. So this is probably the slide that's the most out of date now over the last week, really because I was looking to see more or any Web3 MCPs, right? Multi-agent collaboration protocols. These are effectively like an instruction manual for an agent, right? So I think if the way that maybe the industry was processing how agents would operate with different protocols was that if you wanted an agent to interact with Solana, maybe you needed to do some sort of fine-tuning or training of that agent on the Solana ecosystem, and only then would it become an expert on how to interact with Solana, right? But now that MCPs have come online, effectively what agents can do is just plug into the MCP and become an expert on that protocol instantaneously. They don't need to be trained on something new. They can just come in and through that MCP understand that protocol effectively in a way that allows them to interact with that protocol. And this is something that I was looking to see within crypto. Actually, I read about 8 different MCPs that have come up within the last week within the Web3 space. I haven't tried them yet, but I'm very excited to. These MCPs are not built just for Web3 agents, right? They're built for any form of agent. So the more of these that we see, the higher the likelihood that builders in the Web2 space are going to say, hey, let's just connect my agent, see whether that's interesting, see whether that's useful, see whether my users appreciate that integration. And this is going to be a big factor affecting onboarding of agent builders and Web2 builders into crypto. In the middle there, you'll see real utility. I think something interesting to me is kind of understanding what real utility looks like for agents in crypto, right? Is utility trading? Is utility, market making or coding of smart contracts? To be honest, when I think about real utility in crypto, it's largely about a reduction in complexity across the entire stack, right? We have so much interesting functionality in crypto that is just incredibly fragmented and difficult to understand. And I think agents coming in and programmatically simplifying that for a human interaction is something that is going to be huge for adoption. But I don't necessarily know how that works from a user experience perspective. And I'm very interested to see more people tackling that problem. And then finally, it's largely about Web 2 adoption. How do we get the tools and the infrastructure we've built here that is incredibly valuable from a privacy perspective, from a sovereignty perspective, from an ownership perspective? How do we get that into the mind share of great builders in the Web 2 AI space? And I think it's through champions like the chairman and other great builders. We're definitely seeing an ingress of quality Web 2 builders in the AI space coming into crypto, but we need more, and we need to be championing what we're doing in spaces where Web 2 people are listening. But that's really all from me. Thank you very much for listening.